Hello, my name is David Askew. I'll be discussing emergency management in Kazakhstan today. I appreciate you taking the time to view this presentation. So where is Kazakhstan? Well, it's one of the former Soviet republics in Central Asia. You'll see it here indicated where the stop sign is. It's in between Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan. The capital is Astana, which is north of the stop sign, as you can see. The overview history of Kazakhstan. This is important because it pertains to how their emergency management system operates and runs. So the original inhabitants were migrant, nomadic Turkic peoples, and it was overtaken by the forces of Chinggis Khan around the 1200s. Eventually, the Russian Empire would expand into the area to push the borders of their empire towards Afghanistan. They would also become a major producer of grain. The Russian Empire would collapse during the Russian Revolution, and the area would be left alone. However, in 1936, the Soviet Union reoccupied the area. Kazakhstan and the Central Asian republics became a collectivization area for grain and cotton. Now, this will come to bear on one of the worst environmental disasters, the Aral Sea disaster. Additionally, it became a testing site for Soviet chemical, biological, and nuclear weapons. This continued until the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. So, what was the Soviet Union's emergency management system? This, again, is very important because this will lead into problems and things that Kazakhstan has to deal with later on. Alright, their primary concern was civil defense from a first strike possibility from the West. Basically, military was the first priority. NGOs were allowed to operate, however, they did have government interference and hindrance. This changed later on towards the end of the Soviet Union. As you can see, the Sputnik and Chernobyl incident changed this. The reason for this was they didn't want to seem uncaring. The GKCHS, the emergency management system for the Soviets, was formed. This changed civil defense from a military role to a civilian role. This lingered on later into Kazakhstan. So the first part of Kazakhstan's emergency operations is the president. His responsibilities are an implementation of a state of emergency, which can either be countrywide, regional, provincial, or for the provincial city of Almaty. Banakor is not covered. Now the reason for this is Banakor is actually a rented city. The Russians actually rent the city, so it is not covered under the government of Kazakhstan. There's a board to advise the president. But they do have the power to expound upon decrees for the people and coordinate law enforcement, and they have the ability to make laws for emergencies. So it's similar to the U.S. presidential cabinet, however, with their expanded powers, it's very different. The next level is Parliament. Parliament's responsibilities are execution of laws during emergency, coordination of activities such as finance, medical, rescue, disaster monitoring, and inspection. Now, this is done through their government commissions, similar to our Senate and House committees. The next level down would be the Prime Minister. Now, the Prime Minister's responsibility is to authorize and sign decrees during emergencies, advise the President on situational response and updates, work with the courts to ensure constitutionality. Basically, make sure that no matter what happens, there is no violation of the people's rights. This, again, you can see as a check against the former Soviet system to ensure that the people are constitutionally safe. The next level down is the Ministry of Emergency Situations. Now, this is similar to FEMA, but more closely resembles the Russian models. And again, they had to solve the problem of the previous Soviet system. It is top down, and they coordinate activities for various things you'll see on the screen: scientific, setting standards, mobilization of civilian resources, and disaster monitoring. The next level down are provincial representatives, specialized services, and city representatives. This is basically the specialized services are water rescue, earthquake rescue, hazard rescue. City representatives are for the larger cities of Astana and also for Almaty. The Civil Defense Force. Now, this is a holdover from the Russians. It is comprised mainly of citizen volunteers. They must be trained. They're usually specialists in the areas of emergency medicine or evacuations. Military units are assigned to civil defense. This is something that the Kazakhstanis keep from the Russian system. NGOs. Now, a majority of the work that is done by NGOs in the country right now is training volunteers, getting them up to standards internationally. The Red Crescent, which is similar to the Red Cross, is very active. NGOs are also allowed to be requested by a province or a city. And again, the government of Kazakhstan is very open to them. They do not want to interfere. One example of this is the Red Crescent is working to alleviate the AIDS epidemic that is plaguing Central Asia. Central Asia right now is the fastest growing region in the world for AIDS, and they're trying to eradicate it before it becomes a larger problem. Now, intergovernmental agencies. They're working with the United Nations Development Program on various projects. They're also a part of the ADRC, or the Asian Disaster Relief Council. They're working with the European Union to assist in all different development projects, bridge projects, earthquake relief, and of course both ends have some sort of mutual interest. Kazakhstan benefits and Europe benefits possibly from economic, mineral resources, and other things that do come out of Kazakhstan. And one very different thing from the Russians is they're working with NATO to assist with their military forces that are involved in civil defense. Hazard assessment. As you can see, flooding is the most common occurrence. Most of this comes from snow melting, and it usually occurs between March and July. Earthquakes, 25% of the country is in a seismic zone. Magnitude 8 earthquakes are common. In 1887, 1889, and 1911, Almaty was destroyed by earthquakes. And the UN estimates in 10 to 15 years there will be another large earthquake. The Aral Sea, as I said, it was drained for cotton. If you want further research, I've provided a hyperlink. This is a very big ecological and natural disaster. Nuclear. The Soviets considered the wide expanses of Kazakhstan as a playground for nuclear testing. Biological. In one instance in 1971, they used Aralsk as an open-air testing ground. They also had nerve agent facilities in Pavlodar. Terrorism continues to plague the country as a Muslim-majority country. However, they've worked to eradicate this, working with counterterrorism efforts, and have even signed into the Shanghai Accords for counterterrorism. Industrial accidents, given their loose regulations, continue to plague. Problems with the system. Some people say there's a problem with the clarification of emergency laws, coordination between civil and military disaster relief, and the problems with the early warning system. I provided further explanation of these in the comments section. Conclusion. Kazakhstan has made a great progress. Despite challenges, the country's emergency operations are refining and improving. Civil-military coordination, though it is a holdover from the Soviet Union, is working well to alleviate problems of earthquakes and other constant plaguing disasters in the country. I appreciate your time, and if you need further reference, as I stated, the links are below. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this.